The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you. Let the celebration begin.
Some good news on a Friday, some expected news. Jason Kelce is returning for the 2021 season.
You know, I'll tell you what, Dave, in an off season that's been marked by salary cap troubles, trading away the franchise quarterback, firing the Super Bowl winning head coach, and you name it. It's been cutting guys. It's been a difficult offseason. So some really good news, some encouraging news really for the first time since the season ended.
This is the Eagle Eye Podcast with Reuben Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro. This is a shorter Eagle Eye. We're going to get you guys in and out of here. I guess it's an emergency pod, but we didn't want to let it go the weekend without getting to you guys and talking about Jason Kelce and some of the other moves the Eagles are making. We'll get to the other moves in a minute, but it's a good feeling for the Eagles, I'm sure, to know Kelce's back. It's a good feeling for Nick Sirianni, like you wrote about, and it's also a really good feeling, I'm sure, for Jalen Hurts or, whoever the quarterback ends up being. It's going to be a young guy this coming season, and to have a veteran like Jason Kelce, not just on the field, but in the locker room, in the meeting rooms, that's a big boost, and that's the stuff that you don't really get to see. We see Kelce on the field. He's obviously a great player, but the behind the scenes stuff with him is so important. When Carson was really good, Kelce was a big reason for that. And I'm sure he was a big reason for some of Hurts' success last year too.
Yeah, I think this is big news, good news in so many different ways, like you alluded to. The football stuff is the obvious stuff. He's still a really good player, an all-pro, or I guess he didn't make all-pro last year. He made Pro Bowl for the fourth time. Could have been all-pro. Maybe he saw Pouncey retired and he's like, maybe I can snag some of his all-pros. But it's huge just from that standpoint. Now you don't have to start, are we going to put Isaac Seumalo at center? Are we going to draft a guy? Are we going to try Luke Juriga? You don't have to worry about that if Lane and Brandon Brooks come back healthy. And there's ifs there. There's definitely question marks, but there's a chance. There's a good chance they both come back healthy. Then you got Jordan and Isaac and Jason and Brandon and Lane, left to right. You have a really good offensive line there for a young QB. So from that standpoint, it's huge. Just from a football standpoint, he's such a good player. And, he's been doing it at a high level for a decade now, and sometimes maybe you take him for granted. But what he's done as a sixth-round pick, to go from a sixth-round pick to a possible Hall of Famer with consistency and doing it as an undersized player, using his intelligence and his preparation, his leverage, it's really been amazing to watch his career. So incredible value there, but also, and I wrote a piece about this, I think there's tremendous value also just in what it represents that Jason Kelce decided, you know what, I got two kids. I think his second child was born this week, I believe. Mm-hmm. I got two kids. I'm sorry?
Elliot, name Elliot.
Elliot?
Mm-hmm.
How many L's?
Two, I believe.
Okay, because
and an E on the end.
All right. Okay, so we don't have to call the kid ESP just yet, right?
No.
But yeah, so we've talked about this. I'm surprised because he's 33. He's got other interests. He's been hurt. He's been banged up. He's played through every injury. He hasn't missed a game forever. But I think what it represents is an all-time great Eagle saying, this team might be rebuilding, new coach, new direction, new quarterback, but I want to be a part of it. And I think that's huge. I think that sends a huge message throughout the locker room, throughout the franchise, when a guy like that is enthusiastic about coming back. And Jason Kelce won't do this if he's not 100% into it. That's one thing we know about him. He's made a fortune. He doesn't need the money. He doesn't spend any money. He's like,
he dresses like us.
He dresses like us. He drives a car like us. Now, I guess he's got a big truck, but yeah. And the point is he's doing it for the right reasons. And, I've been as big a proponent of when you go to a youth movement, you've got to be fully committed to it. But there's got to be those, those bridge guys that take you from the Super Bowl era into, what they hope is the next era. And I think BG, Fletcher, and Jason are the three guys that are going to be left. They're all restructuring, I would think, by the time we get to the new league year on the 17th. And they're all still playing at a high level. They're three of the best, they're three of the best players on the team, maybe the three best players on the team. So it's great from a football standpoint, but it's also great from what it represents for these young guys to see Jason Kelce every day go about his business, a guy that they look at as a Hall of Fame type guy, and to know that, he's working that hard, he's studying that hard, he's preparing that hard. When you're a rookie head coach that nobody knows, nobody in the city knows, nobody in the locker room knows, and you can have those guys leading the way, that's just got incredible value.
Yeah, and you mentioned it on the last pod. That's got to be Nick Sirianni. Once again, the building, Nick Sirianni meets with Jason Kelce, meets with Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, those guys, those level guys, and gets them to buy in. And once you get them to buy in, everything else falls in line. The younger guys are going to follow. And so Kelce did restructure. You mentioned that. I wanted to get to a little bit of the details there as a pay raise. So there's extra added incentive for him to agree to this deal. He was due $5.5 million in 2021. He signs the deal. He gets $9 million. My guess is that's mostly a bonus, and they can spread it over some dummy years at the end. And that's kind of what they've been doing recently with these contracts. But they give him a little bit extra cash. I'm assuming it's going to help their cap hit a little bit by making it a bonus, and it makes sense for both sides. And look, you mentioned the line, and it's a very good line right now. I think Mailata or Dillard, we'll say Mailata for now, Samalu, Kelce, Brooks, Lane. It doesn't mean they're not going to draft linemen. I mean, they have to replenish that because they see what's happening. Like, all those guys are, even Isaac at this point is 27, 28. He's not a young guy. The youngest guy there is Jordan Mailata, but it's time to replenish, and they should do that through the draft. But O-line is the one position where if you have to go old to be better, you do it, because if you have a young quarterback, you can't put him out there under immense stress. You have to protect him. You have to give him a chance to succeed. And we've seen so many young quarterbacks in this league get thrown to the wolves and never recover. I mean, just last year with Joe Burrow, I mean, we all saw he was going to get hurt, and it eventually happened. You think back to like David Carr and with the Texans, young quarterbacks can get ruined by having a bad offensive line. So if there's one spot where you say, let's pay some money, let's stick with these veterans until we have younger players who are really ready, I think it's the offensive line. So from that standpoint, this makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, that's a great point. It would be interesting to look at the snap counts for the O-line in the 4 games that Jalen Hurts started. And that really goes a long way. People want to criticize Jalen Hurts. Look at who he was playing behind. But yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of truth in that. And offensive linemen can play at a high level into their 30s. Especially interior guys. But yeah, we see tackles play at a high level into their 30s. It becomes harder to stay healthy. Kelce's durability is, I don't want to jinx the kid, but it's unbelievable. I mean, he's got the longest streak of any interior lineman in the league of consecutive starts. I think he missed some games in 14. He had the sports hernia. I think he missed a game with a concussion at one point early in his career, but guy hasn't missed a game since Chip Kelly.
It's just so funny because we talk about his durability, but he's always hurt. He's just playing through it.
Yeah.
I mean, he played through that MCL a couple years ago. It's funny at the end of the season, he kind of rattles off all these injuries he's been dealing with all year.
I think it was after the 2019 season. We were at his locker, like it was locker clean out day. And like he'll never complain about an injury, Like you see him in the locker room with a knee brace. Like, how's your knee? Oh, it's fine. It's nothing. You see him, but that's who he is. He's just never going to make an excuse. And it was the one year, I think it was 19. It might have been 18. And we asked him how he was feeling, how he got through the season, and he listed the whole litany of it. It was like 5 different things that were all like really serious. Well, I've got a contusion, and I've got a torn this, and I've got a perforated that, and a abrasions on my, whatever it was. And he just went through the whole thing. And we're like, was that your left Achilles or your right Achilles? Like, we're just trying to take stock of all this. And guy never misses a snap. I mean, he missed was it 6 or 7 snaps last year in one game. Luke Juriga came in and played. I think he was in the tent for a concussion test.
Yeah, and he started to run to the wrong sideline just because he got confused, but he didn't have a concussion. But once you start running to the wrong sideline, the concussion spotter's like, wait a second.
and he was pissed about it. But that shows that shows it's working, and they did the right thing, even though it pissed him off. But yeah, and I really think his level of play last year was. I think he was just about as good as ever. I really do. He didn't make all pro, but I'll tell you what, I didn't see a whole lot of drop off. And I think it was a lot harder because he had, name that guard next to him. He had different guards next to him every week, which is huge. I mean, when he's got Isaac Isaac missed a lot of the year. He missed a good chunk of the season. Mm-hmm. So he had Sua and he had Jamone Brown and he had, Herbie. He had a different group of guards next to him every week. And, when you have Brandon Brooks on your right, Isaac on your left, I mean, that's less you have to do to make up for what they're doing. So I think considering everything, I tell you what, I thought he was as good as ever, really. Yeah,
I thought early in the year, there was something like you can tell when he's hurt because he's not moving quite as well. And with him, it's more obvious when he's not moving well because he moves so well normally that when he's not downfield 30 yards springing somebody, you're like, wait a second. But I thought that got better. There were a few snaps here or there. I mean, they pop up at seemingly the wrong times, but I think a lot of the bad snaps this year were a result of the guys next to him because he's trying to get out of his stance a little quicker. And that's where you kind of, your technique fails and you snap the ball high. And there were a few of those, but you deal with those because he's a great player and he's so smart, just incredibly smart. And he's someone who I love his defensive background because you can see him really understand the entire picture, right? He understands exactly what the defense is doing. And obviously that's experience in the league, but that's also his defensive background, I think.
Yeah, no doubt. He's an all-timer. And are you surprised?
No. This was actually one that we were split on in Stay or Go. You thought he was going to retire. I thought I just had a feeling that after how bad last year was, he would want to get that taste out of his mouth. That was just my thinking. It was just such a gross year for a lot of different reasons, and it all kind of came unraveled. It's hard to imagine this year's going to be a great year, but it's also hard to imagine it's that bad, right? Like, and not just bad in results, but like the dysfunction, a disgruntled quarterback, a head coach that's lost his way. There was just so much that was weird about last year. And on top of it, all the COVID restrictions and not really getting to feel like he was a part of a team the way he normally would. So I always thought that he would want to run it back at least one more year to try to get that taste out of his mouth. And I'm guessing that probably had something to do with it.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk to him and hear what his thinking was. I thought he was going to retire after this year, mainly because of the injuries. He's an old guy as a football player, but he's a young man, and he's got a lot of years left. You don't want to be hobbled all your life with little kids. You want to be able to play with them and that kind of stuff. I thought that combined with the fact that the team was in a rebuild, new coach. When you've been to the top of the mountain, I mean, he stood on the steps of the Art Museum and gave us one of the most iconic moments in Philadelphia, not just sports history, but in Philadelphia history. I mean, the Jason Kelce speech after the parade was really one of the great moments in Philadelphia history. And when you've won a Super Bowl, you've made that speech in a mummer's outfit, and you're just so beloved. You've been to 4 Pro Bowls, 3 that you went to and played in, all pro 3 times. It's hard to, I'm just trying to get inside his head. Can I crank it up again with all these changes and a new coach that I don't know? I wonder, Stoutland coming back, I wonder how much Sirianni was like, maybe if I bring Stout back, Kelce will come back.
I think he wanted Stout back anyway.
Yeah, I think you're right. but certainly it didn't hurt. I think when they announced Stout was coming back, I think I wrote that. I was just, I don't know if it's going to help, but it sure ain't going to hurt. Kelce thinks the world of Stout, and rightfully so. So Kelce had never made a Pro Bowl till Stout was his coach. Because he only played 2 years and he was hurt one of them. So it's not that crazy, but it's crazy to think, that some of these guys now have such a body of work. I mean, Jason Kelce, he snapped the ball to Michael Vick, I mean, like, that's how long he's been here. Yeah. Michael Vick, that seems like, such ancient history.
But Stout with Kelce was so big because Stout is such a technician and he's all about angles. And for an undersized guy like Kelce, like Howard Mudd, obviously a great O-line coach, but you can see where the connection between Stout and Kelce is because all those technique things, a lot of players get better with them, but Kelce needs them because he's not very big. And I think that teaching from Stout has really made a big difference for him. Yeah,
that's a great point. Although Howard Mudd played center at like 235 in the NFL, so
a little different era.
he was probably oversized back then, like at 238 or something.
And by the way, my rankings go signing of the Declaration of Independence 1, Kelce speech 1A in city moments.
That'd be a great gallery.
I don't think our photo subscription has Declaration photos.
We could get like artistic renderings. But it would definitely be up there. Hey, Eagles fans, it's time to look forward to your dream vacation. It's the Philadelphia Eagles Fan Cruise. Now, tickets are selling out fast. The ship sails in a year, March of 2022, 7 days and 7 nights with Eagles fans and only Eagles fans. Hey, book your tickets now at PhiladelphiaEaglesCruise.com.
I was thinking about Sesame Street today because the word of the offseason for the Eagles is restructure. You're going to hear it a ton. You've already heard it a ton. And we're going to hear it over the next week for sure.
Can I tell my Sesame Street story? I'll be quick, Ben. When I was in growing up in Teaneck, New Jersey, I lived in the same town as Bob McGrath, he was like Uncle Bob on Sesame Street or something. And his son was on my bowling team. That's it.
Okay, thanks for sharing that.
That's my Sesame Street story.
I thought you were going to have a behind the scenes of Sesame Street type deal.
I actually played pickup basketball with Cookie Monster and Oscar the Grouch.
See, that's better. That's a better story. Just stick with that one. But restructuring. The Eagles reported.
What a great song, by the way.
It's a good song. The Eagles report.
I'll shut up. I'm shutting up.
You're the only person who says I'm shutting up while you're still saying I'm shutting up. So you're not shutting up. Darius Slay reportedly agreed to a restructure. He was another one we were split on, by the way, in stay or go. I had him leaving. I thought a trade would make sense. You had him staying. I think I was probably stretching it a little bit, but it was clear something needed to happen. He has a big cap hit for a 30-year-old guy. They end up restructuring his deal. Reportedly saves about $9 million in cap space. It's a kick the can. It definitely is a kick the can, and a lot of these are going to be a kick the can. But the grass is greener on the other side because once they get out of the season, the cap's going to really increase by a lot, we expect. And the Eagles are in a better situation. So they're going to keep doing this. And this is one that makes sense. I would have contemplated trading him if they couldn't get this restructure done. And maybe they thought about it. But they're a better team with him this year. There's no question about that.
Yeah. There's definitely no question about that. I did say in stay or go that he was going to stay, but I wasn't convinced because I did think that it made sense to consider trading him. What do you need a 30-year-old decent cornerback for in a rebuild? But I like him. I like having him around. It certainly helps that defense because there's not a lot of talent back there, especially in the back end. So have some continuity and not have to worry about replacing two cornerbacks. I think it's interesting that all these guys are restructuring, and there's there was a report that BG's restructuring. Now there's a report that Lane is working on one. I think we both expect Fletcher Cox to restructure, quite possibly at some point. These guys are willing to work with the front office. Now they're getting a lot of money to do it, but they're extending their contracts, and they're really going to be in fine cap space beyond this year. I mean, the number's going to go up astronomically, and the amount that they're going to be prorating from these restructures is not huge. It'll add up to a significant amount, but the key is they've got to hit on some draft picks so they don't have to, spend a fortune on expensive free agents in the future. So it's a big draft for them.
Yeah, and it's kind of the draft picks are at the heart of it all, because if you hit on those guys, then you're not using free agency to build your team. You're just supplementing your base and your core with, a few high-priced guys at times. If you get there in a couple years and you have a good base and you need a corner, then you can go spend on one player and put him in there, and then you're good to go. Free agency by its nature is overpaying for guys. So it's at the most basic level, it doesn't make sense to do that long term. So eventually they're going to have to shell out some dead money for these guys, right? Like we know if they keep pushing it back, they're going to have dead cap hits with Slay and with Fletcher, all these guys really, but that's okay because the overall cap is going to increase so much, and they're going to have so much space that it's not going to hamstring them going forward.
Right. And I would think by next week we'll have some details on all these contracts, or the week after we'll have all the numbers. We can kind of look at how much each contract moves forward to each year, and we can kind of look at what they're going to look like. I think they'll be able to, as early as next offseason, they'll be able to sign a free agent if there's somebody out there that they really like. I mean, they'll be in that position.
Yeah, no, they'll be able to sign someone this year. It won't be anyone
no, it won't,
like major contract.
Yeah, but I think by next year they'll be able to, if they want to spend some money, they'll be able to.
Yeah, and even this year, like they can spend money because they can backload contracts. And people say, like, why would a guy take a backloaded contract? Well, if you give him a big enough signing bonus, he's getting money in his pocket, so he doesn't care what the base salary is in the first year. All players don't care what their base salary is; they just want the money coming in, which anyone would want, So they still have flexibility. I don't think there'll be major players in free agency, but they have a little bit of room to play with, and they will, at least once all this gets done.
And just to real quickly explain, and I think we did this last time, but the bonuses prorate over the life of the contract. So a $10 million bonus over 5 years counts $2 million on each year's cap. The base salary counts entirely on that year's cap. So that's why the team wants all the bonus money. And if you're a player, you're like, yeah, I'll take it. So you see guys like who have these huge average salaries, but they're making $985,000 in base, and that's why.
Yeah, and the Eagles also use what we call dummy years, which is basically just a trick to spread out that cap hit. It's voidable years. So if like Jason Kelce, it's really a 1 year deal for 2021, but it's not going to be a 1 year deal because they don't want to take that cap hit in 1 year, and they'll spread it out and they'll kick the can and they'll deal with it when they get there. And I understand people worry about that strategy, but at its core, it's a sound strategy because the cap hit or the cap continues to rise theoretically, not in, obviously the pandemic changed it, but otherwise the NFL is in great shape. The more revenue, the higher the cap goes, the more you're able to do that. And there's going to be Eagles have been really good at it.
It's going to be a new TV contract, and the cap's going to go up even higher. And it's a great strategy, and other teams do it. I mean, I think the Eagles kind of pioneered it. I think Joe Banner really pioneered it. Now the base salaries can disappear. If you cut a guy, the base salary just goes away. It's gone. The prorated, bonus money, you can't get rid of that. That's there. That's not going anywhere. So even if the player's not here, that's what we call dead money. That's a player that's no longer on the team who's still got a cap hit. So. like Malcolm has dead money. I mean, guys like that. So obviously,
some guy named Carson has about 30 mil dead money for this season.
But some of the names of people that have dead money, it's. I mean, you see names on there like that guy. Because even if you get a tiny bonus, a tiny amount, like, there's guys with like a $4,000 dead money. Like, there's. I mean, it happens. It's interesting stuff.
There are Bobby Bonillas.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are. All right. If you enjoy the Eagle Eye podcast, do us a favor. Please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you happen to be watching on YouTube, please click like and subscribe there as well. We know we said it was going to be short, and it was. We just wanted to talk to you guys about Kelce and a few other topics. For Rube, I'm Dave. We'll talk to you guys again next week.